Welcome to Bodhi Unified Flow, where we simplify complexity and amplify performance. Today, we're going to tackle a problem that secretly drains efficiency from almost every single business: stop-and-go production. We're going to explore how shifting our focus from just isolated tasks to the entire process can create a smooth, powerful, and, an incredibly productive operation.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by really digging into the problem of turbulence. Then we'll look at the solution, continuous flow, and get into the nitty-gritty of its mechanics. After that, we'll see how to handle those inevitable variations, check out the massive impact this all has, and wrap up with the new way of thinking you need to make it all work.
And hey, by the end of this explainer, our goal is for you to have a really solid grip on these concepts. But more than that, you'll be able to look at your own work, whether it's in manufacturing or construction, or even just paperwork, in a totally new and much more powerful light. All right, let's start with a problem that honestly, it plagues countless operations, and it's often hiding in plain sight. I'm talking about the chaos of stop and go, this kind of turbulence that just kills the rhythm of work and introduces a huge amount of waste. This right here, this really gets to the heart of it. These interruptions, these fits and starts, they aren't just little hiccups or the cost of doing business. No, they're like a warning light on your dashboard, signaling deeper, systemic problems. It means waste has become accepted, maybe even invisible. So what does this turbulence actually look like? Well, you see it in piles of half-finished work, what we call work in progress. You see it in bottlenecks where everything just grinds to a halt. You see it when people and really expensive equipment are just sitting around, idle, waiting. And the big one, it creates lead times that are not only long, but totally unpredictable. And here's the absolute kicker. We're often measuring the wrong things. See, traditional management is obsessed with conversion activities, the moments we're actually hammering or typing or assembling. But this focus makes the flow activities, things like waiting for an approval or moving parts from one station to another, almost invisible. And that, right there, is where most of the waste is hiding. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the fix? Well, the solution is a fundamental shift in how we see things. We have to stop focusing on the rocks and start focusing on the river itself, transforming that chaotic, turbulent creek into a smooth, powerful flow. At its core, flow is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. We want to make value, whether it's a product, a service, or just a piece of information, move freely and continuously from the very first step to the very last. No interruptions. The ultimate goal is zero stoppages. Now, this slide shows a total clash of philosophies. On the left, you've got push systems. Think of a bakery that bakes 100 loaves of bread first thing in the morning and just hopes people buy them. It's based on a forecast, and it creates piles of inventory. But on the right, pull systems are like that same bakery only baking a loaf after you've ordered it. Actual demand from you, the customer, pulls the work through. Which one sounds smarter? Achieving this kind of smooth, powerful flow, it doesn't just happen by accident. It takes a deliberate, disciplined approach. You actually have to engineer the process itself for smoothness. So, the legendary industrial engineer Shigeo Shingo broke down any process into these 4 parts. And this forces us to see a really hard truth. Only number 1, processing, actually adds value for the customer. The other 3, inspecting, moving, and waiting, are basically just different flavors of waste. Our job is to hunt them down and eliminate them. Now, to engineer flow, we need a rhythm, a pulse, and that's tact time. It's a really simple but profound idea. You take your available production time and divide it by what the customer is demanding. The result is the precise pace, the heartbeat that your entire process needs to follow to stay perfectly in sync with your customers. Not too fast, not too slow, just right. But, okay, let's be real for a second. The world is a messy place. One of the biggest enemies of perfect flow is variation. Unexpected problems, machines breaking down, quality issues. They create this ripple effect that can throw your whole system into chaos. So how do we tame all that unpredictability? Well, we attack it. We standardize work, so everyone's doing the task the same, best way every time. We build quality into the process, instead of just inspecting for it at the end. We get obsessive about making our equipment and suppliers reliable. And for the variation that's left over, we build in smart ways to absorb it. And this brings us to a super important and often misunderstood idea. Buffers, these small strategic reserves of inventory or time, are not always the enemy. When you use them intentionally, they act like shock absorbers for your process. They protect the whole system from those little hiccups, making sure the overall flow stays stable and protected. This brings up a really great question. We tend to think flow just means going faster, right? But think about it. Is a process that cranks out a ton of stuff one day and then almost nothing the next, is that really good flow? So good flow really has two key ingredients. Think about a chart. On one axis, you have volume or intensity, how much stuff you're making. On the other axis, you have uniformity or smoothness, how predictable it is. The sweet spot, where you want to be, is in that top right corner, achieving both high volume and high uniformity. That's what excellence looks like. And this is where it gets really, really exciting. Because when you actually manage to transform that turbulent creek into a powerful flowing river, the results aren't just theoretical. They are dramatic, they are measurable, and they will absolutely transform your bottom line. First off, just by systematically getting rid of all that stop-and-go waste, organizations typically see their throughput, the amount of stuff they get done, jump by 20 to 50%. I mean, just imagine that, producing that much more with the exact same resources. In really complex fields like construction, the results are even more mind-blowing. Applying these principles has been shown to slash the total time of a project by as much as 70%. 70! And this isn't just theory. There was a major hospital construction project that, by being super rigorous with tact and flow, finished an incredible 6 months ahead of schedule. That is the real-world power of this kind of thinking. What you end up with is a complete business transformation. Your lead times shrink. Quality goes through the roof because you catch problems right away. Costs plummet as you eliminate waste. And what's just as important, your employees are happier because they aren't fighting fires all day. It creates a massive, lasting competitive advantage. So, to bring this all home, let's talk about what it really means to adopt this mindset. Because it's so much more than a set of tools. It's a whole new way of seeing and managing your entire operation. Just think about that for a second. It's such a powerful idea. When you decide to focus on flow, the process itself doesn't lie. It becomes a perfect mirror, showing you with 100% honesty exactly where your problems are, where your bottlenecks are hiding, and where your biggest opportunities are. So if you remember one thing, remember this. Stop and go is just a symptom. The cure is to zoom out and focus on the entire value stream, not just the little tasks. By using tools like pull, tact time, and smart buffers, you can engineer a process that flows. And the benefits are just profound. You get faster, cheaper, and better, all at the same time. And with that, we've ticked all the boxes on our objectives for this session. You now have a whole new framework for analyzing and improving just about any process you can think of. So I'll leave you with this challenge. Go look at your own work or your team's process with fresh eyes and ask this simple but sometimes difficult question. The answer might be a little uncomfortable, but it could also be the first step you take toward a huge, game-changing improvement. For those of you who want to dive even deeper, these resources are a fantastic place to start. Thank you for joining this explainer from Bodhi Unified Flow.